Are you a teacher drowning in a sea of overwhelm? Join me today as I dive into the realities of teacher overwhelm and discover some strategies you can put into place right away. I wonder what overwhelm looks like for you. Does it feel like? People tell me they feel drained, running on empty, guilty when relaxing, restless when resting, brain overload or no brain space, spinning plates, crashing, withdrawal, depression, physical symptoms. I wonder if you resonate with them. Let me tell you a little bit about me. So I've now had 2 burnouts, self-diagnosed actually. My first was about 10 years ago, and my back went, and it was incredibly painful. I was in the most fantastic job. I loved it to bits. I had my children at home, single mum, and I worked long hours, passionate about my role, and suddenly my back started to hurt, and then it started to hurt worse and worse. And I got put on morphine. Doctors didn't know what to do with me. Lots of tests came back, a bit of wear and tear, but nothing that seemed obvious. And no one suggested to me that it might be burnout. Looking back, I just think, how could that not have happened? Anyway, I finally got some help from this amazing doctor in the States, got myself back to work and launched straight back in to my old patterns of workaholicism, people pleasing, passionate, loving everything I did, loving my colleagues, loving the children, their families. But then more recently, a couple of years ago, I started to get different physical symptoms of numbness and vision loss and chest pain. And my children, now grown up, were saying to me, Mum, hold on a minute, what's going on? You need to slow down. And I was going, no, it's fine. I'm needing to be in work and I love what I do and I can make a difference. And I was so busy looking after those around me in school. By that point, I was a deputy head and I just loved being able to support the staff and the children, obviously, and the families. But I forgot to look after myself. The physical symptoms eventually got so severe that it was the doctor who told me I had to resign. But I really learned a lesson in that overwhelm for me goes into my body as a physical symptom. And I still fight that. And I recognize it now and I have to reflect. I journal and I talk to people about it and it really helps. But I think what teachers are telling me at the moment and what I'm seeing in schools, and it's just the same as it used to be, but it's getting worse and it's not okay. And we shouldn't be putting up with this. And it's really difficult to change the system, right? I am hoping that I can at some point make a difference there. But right now, it's about taking control of a tiny bit of life for ourselves. And that means taking some action, might be brave, uncomfortable action, being a little bit vulnerable, maybe with yourself even, and perhaps with others, and saying, right, it's time to make some changes. Because this is not okay. The statistics on overwhelm are shocking. You probably know this. But last year, 78% of education staff in the UK said they were stressed. Doesn't matter if you're a teacher, leader. The statistics are higher actually for leaders, very high for head teachers. It doesn't matter. You could be a teaching assistant. You could be in the office. Doesn't matter. Stress is everywhere. Over 50% of school staff saying that they're experiencing insomnia. This just isn't okay. What are we going to do about it? How can we take some control for ourselves? Let me tell you about a story I tell in my book. So it's on page 65, my book, Teach, Flourish, Thrive, Break Free from Burnout. I am on a mission here, I know. But on page 65, I talk about this amazing woman I worked with. She was in the office. And one day she came in. She started by making an urgent referral that I'd asked her to do. And then I saw, as I was filling in the rest of the paperwork in the office, she went to unblock a toilet. She came back. She sat with a distressed child while waiting for a parent to collect them. After that, she unjammed a photocopier. And by then, it was lunchtime. She went to wipe some dinner tables because one of the dinner ladies was off. And then she sat down and had her breakfast at 2:00 to start her paperwork for the day. Normal school day? Maybe. But that's what we do in school, isn't it? We're not just educators. We do so many more things. We're nurses, administrators, counselors, parenting experts, engineers, mending things, police, and then we teach. We're that safe space for those children, aren't we? So many things that we do, and most of it goes unrecognized probably. I don't know if this rings true, but I remember I had an observation and I didn't know I was being observed actually. I had 8 children at risk of exclusion in a room. And I was so engrossed in the session that I didn't notice behind me the head of the academy chain was doing a tour of the school with the executive head and a couple of other senior staff. And they came and stood behind me by the door and just observed for perhaps 10 minutes. And I was just full on teaching these children to keep them engaged and having a lovely time. And at the end, one of the boys stopped and said, "Oh, miss, that was that really important man who was watching you." And my immediate reaction was, "Oh, what was I doing? Oh no, what did they see? Was it good enough? Oh, crumbs." So incredible doubt came straight at me. Why do we do that? Why can't we believe in ourselves? My session was good. Those children were engaged. They were learning. But my brain went straight away to that I'm not good enough, I'm going to be found out thing. Why? I actually got a promotion from that session, but that was my immediate reaction. And I've spoken to so many other school staff who do the same. I went in to observe a teaching assistant once, and she was doing a beautiful session with one-to-one with a child who wasn't really speaking at the time. And she had this child engaging in the most magical way. But when she looked up and saw me coming, I could see in her face fear. Was it good enough? Should she be doing this? And I looked at her and I said, look at the face of the child that you are working with. She is engrossed and excited at being able to communicate. You're giving her a gift. It's brilliant. But her immediate reaction was, I'm not good enough. We need to start to see the good that we're doing, don't we? And that is one of the steps that we can take in overcoming the overwhelm. If we spot where we make a difference to the children, to our colleagues, to the parents, even telling a parent one good thing that their child has done in the day, even if their child is struggling in school, there's got to be one good thing, one moment. Could change the parent's day, could change the child's day, changes your day. Watch for the wins in your day. So simple, so obvious in a way. Yeah, so I want to talk about a couple of strategies. And the one that worked for me the best at work was time blocking. I am an amazing procrastinator. So, as a teacher, teaching assistant, doesn't matter. You have this massive to-do list, don't you? And you look at it, you think, where do I even start? Big jobs, small jobs, doesn't matter. It's just, you just hit overwhelm and your brain just goes into full on buzz. Well, I learnt, number one, do the first job, make it your worst job. So do the worst job first. And then the second one is to time block. So, for example, half an hour, as soon as I got in the morning, I wouldn't look at my emails. I would do that job that really needed doing, get it out of the way so it doesn't sit on you all day. And you think, oh no, I haven't done that yet. Stress, pressure, do it if at all possible. Time block your diary out. So, for example, you might say, I've got half an hour at the end of the day after the staff meeting before I go home. If you're lucky enough to be able to stay that late. I don't know if you collect children, but if you can, and say to yourself, that is going to be my email slot, or that is going to be the slot where I change my classroom up. Whatever it is, try and time block so that, for example, you take 15 minutes for lunch, you prioritize yourself, you go for a short walk, but in the day, you need to be blocking out time for you. And I worked with a teacher who was just outstanding, but was working crazy hours. I loved watching his lessons because he was so exciting and engaging and the children loved it. But he was starting to lose his creativity and his love for learning, love for teaching, because his hours were too long. So we actually went through his week. I made him write everything he did down before school, during school, all the breaks, after school, and then in the evening. What was he doing? And we discovered he was spending hours making these beautiful resources. Beautiful, beautiful. But it was at the expense of things like marking. So I suggested to him that one day, one sheet or one resource each day was going to be beautiful and the rest were going to be good. And good, I would say, was my great, because his were fantastic. So he tried for a week, just making one awesome resource a day, because that was his strength and his delight. So he still had that creativity outlet, and the rest were good. And his time reduced right down. It was a real difficult change for him at the start because it wasn't natural for him. But he suddenly discovered he could put half an hour marking in there, half an hour preparation for something different in there. It's so much about looking at how we use our time. Are you distracted? Are you procrastinating? Are you using your time wisely? Seems simple, I know. I don't know if you're able to think, right, I need to go upstairs and get that book. And on the way upstairs, you tidy up that piece of paper. You put all the shoes together by the front door. You get the hoover out and quickly hoover the stairs because it bothers you. And then you just put a wash on because you notice the kids have left some washing there. And you get upstairs, you think, what was I even doing? So you haven't got that book. You haven't started that piece of work. You've done all those bits of jobs that are good, but you haven't done that one task. You need to time block and stop being distracted. And believe me, you're hearing from the chief procrastinator here. So there's no judgment. Start with something small. Try a small bit of time blocking, see if it works for you. And the second thing I would say in terms of overwhelm is to start to say no. And you can say no gently. You don't need to say rudely, no, I'm not doing that. Of course, we don't do that, do we? But you can say, I'm really sorry, but I can't do that this week because I haven't seen my children properly and I need to go home. Or you could say, let me see next week how my time is. And this is really hard, school, because everything is so important, but actually so are you. And you may need to start putting in some boundaries. In doing that, you're going to risk disapproval. You're going to risk seeing what it looks like to prioritize yourself and your own wishes. And it's really hard. I put my foot down with something a few weeks ago and I got a backlash from it, but I stuck to my guns. And I can tell you that for me, it's incredibly empowering. It's actually quite energizing that I can do it. And I followed through with it. And I just said, you offered to help, so I'm asking you to do this job. Please, could you do it? And there was a backlash, but actually I am empowered by that. And I don't feel quite so overwhelmed because I've got one less job. It's amazing. Are there things that you could ask someone else to do? Are there things that you could say, is that really my job? I remember my colleague once said to me, Ro, why do you answer everybody's email and try and help them out and do everything that's asked? It's not your job. And I was such a people pleaser and wanted to seek approval. I didn't really realize it, that I would respond to everything and I would try to bring solutions to all of it, even when it wasn't my role. Sometimes we can't do that. And it might seem a bit tough for the other person, but this is you prioritizing you to reduce your overwhelm, to clear your brain a little bit. If these are helpful for you or you've got questions, look at my website, rowenahicks.com. Have a look. There's resources and ideas on there. I've got a blog, a newsletter, or come and join my group on Facebook, Preventing Teacher Burnout. Lots of ideas in there, an increasing community, but we're better together. We need to help each other. I haven't got all the answers. I've got some ideas, things that work for me. I read a lot of research, learn all the time, every day. So I look forward to hearing whether this reduces your brain fog a little bit. If you dare to take some action for yourself. Difficult to change the system, yeah? But you can change yourself. Small steps, just small steps to become more productive and perhaps take back a little control, get some energy. So try time blocking. Try putting in even a small boundary. And I look forward to hearing any feedback from you. Have a good day. Thanks for listening. I hope you took something of value from today. If you want to connect, I'm at rowenahicks.com, or I have a Facebook group, which is Preventing Teacher Burnout. So I look forward to connecting to you at one of those.